and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. This is our 4:30 p.m. closed session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Pai.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Nunez.
Present.
And Mayor Mattis.
Present.
Thank you.
You don't see anybody in the audience? You have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Madam City Attorney.
A very small closed session of 12 items.
Yeah, we're going to sit back and listen. Go
For
it.
those listening, that was sarcastic. We have 9 items, all under existing litigation. I will say that the paragraph and subdivision first, and then I'll go ahead and just state the case number for everything else. So we have 9 items, existing litigation, conference with legal counsel. Paragraph 1 is subdivision D of section 54956.9. The first one is City of Desert Hot Springs versus De La Rosa, Riverside Court, case number PSC 1802371. The second item is City of Desert Hot Springs versus Yay Dynasty Entertainment, Riverside Superior Court, case number CVPS 2104940. Excuse me. Third one is INRE 66220 First Street, Desert Hot Springs, California, Riverside Superior Court, case number CVR 122044747. The fourth one is New Res LLC, DBL Shell Point Mortgage versus City of Desert Hot Springs, Riverside Superior Court, case number CVPS 2301298. The fifth one is City of Desert Hot Springs versus K, Riverside Superior Court, case number CVPS 2300272. Sixth one is City of Desert Hot Springs versus Irene Valente, Riverside Superior Court, case number PSC 1802698. Seventh one is Joseph Minor versus City of Desert Hot Springs, Riverside Superior Court, case numbers CVPS 2106601 and APR 1220009. and APR 122000109. Eighth one is Joseph Minor versus City of Desert Hot Springs, Riverside Superior Court, case number. There's 2 numbers, CVPS 2106016, APR 1230007. Ninth one is Joseph Minor versus Christina Newsom et al., United States District Court, case number 822CV01043 CASMAA. That concludes the existing litigation. Then we have anticipated litigation. Pursuant to anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, 2 potential cases. We have conference with labor negotiators, Government Code section 54957.6, unrepresented employee, city manager, and lastly, we have conference with rural property negotiators pursuant to Government Code section 54956.8. The property is 13700 Palm Drive, City of Desert Hot Springs. Agency negotiator is Doria Wilms, interim city manager. Myself, negotiating parties are Doria Wilms, myself, and under negotiation are price and terms. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll recess.
Oh, now it's time to start our meeting.
We are going to call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. This is our 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Pai.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nunez.
Present.
And Mayor Mattis.
Present. Our Bishop wasn't able to be here tonight for the invocation, so we're moved to the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe, who led me last time? Were you pointing at him? Yeah. Okay. You were just pointing this way. I didn't know who was. So I will have Mr. Gardner lead us tonight.
All right, everybody, please face the flag. Join
Thank you for that. Madam City Attorney, would you please report on closed session?
Thank you. We have no reportable action.
During our approval of our agenda tonight, we will be taking the items on the consent calendar. Do we have a consent calendar tonight? We don't, do we? I'm like, oh, wait, we don't. Never mind. We'll be approving the agenda. If there's any items that anyone would not pull any items, never mind. This is off my spiel. Would anybody like to approve the agenda?
Move, we approve the agenda.
Thank you.
I was second, Mr. Mayor, but I'm not sure there's an important item that residents are here want to hear.
Yes,
Do you want to-
I've been asked to move one item up tonight so far, so I'll be doing that. There is a motion and a second on the approval of the agenda. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Now we're going to move to public comments. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Excuse me. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during public comments. Mr. Moen, you are the only one that I have a blue card from. Anyone that would like to speak on any items that are not on the agenda, we would ask that you see the city clerk.
Is this on? Good evening. Tom Moen, 44-year resident of Desert Hot Springs. My wife Dolly has a message for you folks. She wanted to say thank you for pestering the county to get the stoplight at Mountain View and Dillon operating correctly. It is operating correctly as of this week, and she's grateful for your assistance. Desert Hot Springs is a unique community. We're a windy community, and I suggest that might be something we want to look into from our city to help people windproof their homes. 2 years ago, I had my patio ripped off by the wind. And fortunately, I had insurance to cover that. But there's a lot of things people can do that I found out afterwards that I could have done. But it might be good to educate our citizens on how to have better roofs and be more windproof. I'd also like to suggest that Palm Drive, I've had people question me about the Palm Drive in front of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I have not measured it personally, but maybe someone could check this out. They said that the center with the two yellow lines going is wider than it's supposed to be, and that the two lanes on the west side of Palm heading south are too skinny, and when people park in front of the church, their cars are in peril. And I just thought I would pass that on to you. I know that's something that's probably an easy correction, but I just wanted to bring that to you. And most of all, I love living in Desert Hot Springs. Thank you.
Do I have anybody else that would like to speak in public comments before I close public comments? All right, we'll close public comments at this time, and we will. Bishop Taylor, we started the meeting without you, but now that you're here, I'm going to have you give the invocation. So please come forward.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for being late. I did my best. I guess I'm getting old. Thank you. Father, we thank you for this great city of Desert Hot Springs and the leaders that you've chosen. We ask your blessing upon this city, upon its people, upon the city of Desert Hot Springs and its people. We thank you. We ask your blessings and continued wisdom and knowledge upon these men and women of this council. In the name that's above every name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
sir. Catch your breath. All right, we're going to move to the city manager's report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. First, like to ask Jeffrey Buckheim, our Administrative Services Director, to provide an update, a financial update.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As of April 18th, 2023, our general fund and public safety funds for fiscal year 22-23, our revenues are over 18.1 million, which is at 54% of the budget. Our expenditures are at over 20.5 million, which is at 61% of the budget. And then as part of the slide, you can see how some of the major significant revenues are coming in as a percentage of their budget. And that's my report.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next, we'll have Nick Haker, our Public Works Director, provide Public Works updates.
Good evening. I have a couple updates. The first is for North Indian Canyon at Coachella Way signal. The signal is active and approved signal timing is inputted. This picture shows the intersection going northbound.
Coachella Way in India.
Coachella Way in Indian Canyon. Yeah. No, it's not working. Can you move the slide forward? So next one. This is the intersection coming out of Coachella. This is facing eastbound. Next slide. This is the intersection facing southbound. The new traffic pattern sign with the flags will be posted for 30 days. These signs are posted for northbound and southbound traffic. Next slide. The next update is in reference to Reflection Park. Surveying has been completed and monuments have been installed to establish property lines. We anticipate receiving the plat next week. Next slide. Once we've received, we will work with the contractor on the demo and removal of the fencing. And this concludes the updates.
Thank you, Nick. And finally, I would like to have Roberta Sternick, our Recreation and Community Services Director, provide recreation updates.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As we conclude our spring break enrollment at the Recreation Center, I wanted to share with everyone that we had a total of 107 kids enrolled this spring break. They did a lot of outdoor activities. So they went to Tahquitz Canyon, the Living Desert, Desert X, and then they finished spring break visiting Whitewater. We recently had our first paint night over at the Health and Wellness Center, and it was really a great success. So we're going to be planning another one in the summer. It will be a summer-themed painting. So if you miss this one, you'll have an opportunity to sign up again. And back by popular demand, this is our second parent and me toddler class. Sorry, my screen went blank. There we go. It will be held on Friday, May 5th. At 10:30 over at the Desert Hot Springs Recreation Center, and they will be doing some abstract art. And our youth archery program has gone so well. We will be starting an adult archery class. So the classes will be starting in May. They will be held on Saturdays from 8 to 10. So if you are interested, be on the lookout on our website and on Facebook. We'll be putting out some more information about that. And finally, we will be hosting a free softball clinic on Sunday, April 30th from 8 to 12 at Wardman Park. Little Leagues really wants to expand their softball program, so we thought this would be a great way to get girls interested in getting into softball. So again, this is free, April 30th. And sorry, my screen's blank again. This weekend is actually a huge weekend for us. We're gonna do our mural unveiling and block party this Saturday, April 22nd from 11 to 2, right here on the corner of Palm and Pearson. There will be music, food trucks, a print signing. The artist will be there. We'll have merchandise giveaways and the creator art workshops for kids. And finally, we have scheduled our Memorial Day ceremony. It will be held on Monday, May 29th at 9 a.m. at Veterans Park. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. That concludes our reports.
Thank you very much. Move to council member comments. I will start at this end. Go ahead, Mr. Betts.
Thank you. Question for staff on the Palm Drive medium at the Methodist Church. I think there's a solution for that tight 2 lanes. Could we get an explanation on that? Right there where the new median went in by 8th Street and Palm, and they were saying that the lane is too tight for people to go by.
I believe it was the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yeah, that's right. Is that what I said? Oh, sorry, Seventh-day Adventist.
There's no median there, but we'll have to look into it. I don't have that information.
Okay, so I'm okay. Let me start over again. On 8th Street on Palm, there was a big new median that went in, and it seems to be a little wider than normal. I'll answer. It's because that's going to be 1 lane, correct? On Palm Drive going north? So where you think it's tight for the 2 lanes, there's only going to be 1 lane there. Somebody parking in front of the church is going to have lots of extra room, and their car won't be in peril. So that was the answer on that one. Thought I'd give an answer on that. And I'll tell you, if anybody is sitting there, we always hear, well, there's nothing to do in Desert Hot Springs. And Roberta, I think you answer that question every meeting. If anybody thinks there's anything to do in this city, just call up Roberta. Thank you for that presentation. I don't know, it was 1 or 2 meetings ago I mentioned my disgust with the condition of the Dollar General shopping center, and it wasn't the very next day I got a call. I've been calling their corporate, and I got a call from the guy who's just been given the contract to do their maintenance. It sounded really positive. He asked for the landscape plans, which is not normally my place to give those to him, but I happen to have them in my file, so I sent them to him. Staff, I'm sure, is all over this one, but apparently they've heard us. Now let's go to see what happens with them. So that was encouraging. Where did my notes go? Hold on, sorry. I thought you were going to start at the other end, Scott. They're here somewhere. I know it. There they are. So it's not always when we go up to these meetings. This is the agenda for Southern California Association of Government. It's not always when we go up there to vote on something that there's something that pertains to the city. Well, at the last meeting, there was 2 big items, and the first one was funding for a grant approval for $8.42 million for sidewalks and street improvements on Hacienda Boulevard, and the other one was an $8.9 million grant for Palm Drive safety improvements from I-10 to Camino Aventura. And that really deserves a multi-million-dollar shout out to our staff for pursuing those, because that's how it gets done. And I know the mayor has mentioned during his comments his votes at RCTC, and it's a whole process that goes through. But it just was really nice to be able to sit there and, in a body of 6 counties throughout Southern California, and Desert Hot Springs is on that list for 2 big items. So staff, great job. You guys are really, really doing good with that. It's if you think they're not doing anything, that's a lot of money coming in. We caught somebody dumping recently, and a resident sent some pictures in. They were really good pictures, good enough to identify who it was. And my understanding is they had been fined, so that's good news. If you see somebody out there dumping in the desert, it's a big problem. Just because we caught one person doesn't mean we got everybody. But if you get a picture and you get some information, they'll get caught and they'll pay a fine. And Chief, do you think that guy's going to do that again? Okay. So, I mean, a $1,000 fine, he's probably grousing about that, right? Okay, so I just thought that was some good news. Getting complaints about speeding on Palm Drive. I want to remind everybody that You know, there's a lot of stuff that's always going to be going on in the city that you can't get everything. And we got a police department that's doing a really good job. You've probably heard about our crime rate being way, way down. And that doesn't come out with an effort on the police department. I would like to see something come to the council, maybe some extra funding for PD for some patrols like that. I'd love to see that get on an agenda. I've mentioned this a couple of times. I know the highway patrol is available if you want to contract with them, but it's a lot of time away from normal duties for the police to be distracted from the more important stuff they do, to be sitting there on traffic patrol. I wish everybody would just slow down, but I would love to see something come here for the council. I don't know if any council member up here would like to join me in putting that on the agenda for the next council meeting, but a discussion and possible action for sending some money towards the highway patrol to get some patrols going. So if anybody wants to join me in that, let me know. The Furby Pools item, I came up, I asked for the gas bill, and this is for the entire facility, but I'm guessing most of it is for the Furby Pool, and people get asking why we don't have year-round swimming. And the gas bill for the Furby Pool was, for this 1 month, was $39,346. That's a lot of money. So I don't know, why I guess staff, what's the pool been open for? Why do we have it heated at this time?
So the pool is not open. Some of those bills reflect a period of time where we were gearing up for the use of the pool by the high school. Unfortunately, we've had to close the pool because there's been some mechanical issues with some of the parts, and so the pool's been closed for approximately 4 weeks now, maybe even a little longer. The gas is no longer on at the pool at this point.
Okay, good. All right, so we're not worried, this isn't piling up every month.
Correct. And the
Okay.
good news is a lot of the natural gas prices are starting to even out now, thank goodness.
Okay, well, this was certainly a big bill, but everybody asks what's it cost to, why can't we have year-round swimming? You have to be prepared if you want to do year-round swimming. How many people do you think you have at the pool? 10 people doing lap swim in the morning for $39,000. So it's a tough thing to consider. I'd love to say yes, but that's a lot of money. And the only other thing is we have vacation rentals residents who are noticing some issues. Of course, it's Coachella time, so the parties are a little louder, and I've been getting calls. People are a little uncomfortable because our reporting hotline goes into the PD dispatch, and they're feeling like, well, I don't really want to bother our police department. They're doing a great job and everything else they do, and there's some noise, but that's not something I really would bother police for. I guess we have this item coming back to us for discussion, and this is one of the things we need to look at, because I think it's a testament to our police department that somebody doesn't want to bother them for something that's obviously bothering them enough to call, but not something that they want our police department to have to respond to. And so we need to take a look at what's going on and working, so hopefully get a detailed report on that. I told some people I'd mention it. For now, though, my understanding from staff is if you call with a vacation rental complaint and you hear 911, much your emergency, you are calling the right place, and that's where you are to call. So if you hear that, go ahead and call, and somebody will try and get out there through their, I think the dispatch team is good enough to be able to sort through that. And by the way, they are really nice at our dispatch team. It is much improved, so please pass along my compliments to them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
We just need to make one correction, Chief. If you call a non-emergency line, they don't answer it, 911 emergency, right? They just answer Desert Hot Springs Police Department. So they don't. If you call the non-emergency line, they're not going to say that you're answering. So people might get a little nervous because the non-emergency line means non-emergency. So we prefer you to call that if you can.
If you dial the number that's on the website, it will route you to our non-emergency dispatch line. So that's the way that the system is set up.
The point is that they're obviously getting the dispatch, and they're nervous about bothering dispatch.
Okay, well, we don't want to make them nervous. So if they hear Desert Hot Springs Police Department, they're calling the right line. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see. Start off, I wanted to congratulate Brian Edison and his team up at the Good House Spa and Hotel here in DHS. They were named one of the top 23 places to visit in California by Travel and Leisure magazine. and the only one in the Coachella Valley. How about that? A nice piece on them on NBC as well. Wanted to congratulate as well our good friends over at Mission Springs Water District on several major awards, including MSWD's wastewater side of the house, something we don't often think about. They won 3 regional awards at the Colorado River Basin section of the California Water Environment Association, including Small Plant of the Year operations at the Horton plant, and Chief Plant Operator Lee Bayer named Plant Supervisor of the Year, and the district also won the Community Engagement and Outreach Award for its Protect Your Pipes campaign, reminding us to keep flushable wipes and fats and oils and grease out of the wastewater system. MSWD was the only wastewater provider to win those 3 awards at the annual event. And the results of the statewide competition will be announced tomorrow. District expects to receive some additional honors there for their service. So congratulations, MSWD. The Coachella Valley Conservation Commission met. We had our year-end report on the amount of land purchased and ongoing conservation efforts. And using the memorandum of understanding with DHS Police for patrol of conservation land is becoming a model for other cities, so we're expanding that, and we're going to start exploring another memorandum of understanding to help cover the cost of cleaning up dumping incurred by the city on some of the conservation land. Attended the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club barbecue on this last glorious Saturday afternoon. I see a lot of purple shirts out there from the lovely ladies at the Women's Club. It was a great time visiting with all of you and enjoying Dylan's patio and great food on that Saturday afternoon. And just one other thing, a reminder that the Desert Hot Springs Historical Society Soup Supper fundraiser is tomorrow night, the 19th. And the speaker will be Anna Miller, a longtime resident of B-Bar H Ranch, which is just outside the city limits. And she's going to talk about the history of the old Hollywood Dude Ranch down there. And we'll be having the meeting for sort of a field trip, if you will, at the original ranch house that is now the VFW post down there in B-Bar H Ranch. And tickets can be purchased at the door now for $30. So that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things I have. Last week, I had the opportunity to join our staff and Councilwoman Pai to go into Sacramento to lobby, assist in voicing our concerns in the community. So it was my first time. I got to say that it was a very unique situation and opportunity where we get to see lawmakers at work. We got to see that we have a seat at the table and really voice our concerns here in the community. And I commend our city manager and really taking the lead. She really let the lawmakers know that, hey, this is our needs and this is what we're facing. This is where we want to see. So I'm hoping that more meetings are scheduled for them to come down here finally for our mayor and our staff to meet with them again. So it's a great opportunity. I would highly recommend that next year that some more staff and council members go. Really gives a meaning to advocating for our residents. So I want to thank our staff and Jan Pai for putting up with me that weekend. The other thing was we on the way back, when we got back, we got an opportunity to see our recreation kids helping out with the mural. So we stopped by and just watched. We didn't say anything. We just watched, and we got to see the artist and the organizer talking to the youth about, what do they want to do when they grow up and the opportunities they have and his experiences growing up. So I think it was a great opportunity for these kids to capture something that, not a lot of people do with our youth. So I just want to say that it was a great experience and glad to be there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Pai.
Yes, we did go to Sacramento, and I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Nunez for getting along with me. Just so you know, some of the people that we met was Eduardo Garcia and Senator Sergio Say it again.
Seyor.
Yes, those two are going to work with each other on our needs. And I'll talk to you about that later. We also are going to meet with Wallace. We couldn't meet with him on that day because there was a bomb at the Capitol, and we decided not to go that day. Also, we met with Michael Redding, who is an assistant to the Attorney General, and he is going to work on some stuff for us also. And we will get back to you once we get the results. And that's it.
Great. I don't have much of an update. I didn't have any meetings. I had quite a few meetings, but nothing that pertained directly to having to report out. I just did want to say that the cleanup committee is wrapping up its last school this Saturday, 8 a.m. at Desert Springs Middle School for the school season. I'll take a break for the summer and then be back to finishing. I think there's 3 more schools to finish before the end of the year, and we'll do those in fall. But if you're bored Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, before you go to the downtown party, come clean up some trash at Desert Springs Middle School. All right, we're going to go to our agenda, and I've asked to move one item up. It's item number 17 in the admin calendar, or the admin calendar, and that's the Desert Hot Springs Historical Society funding request. Sean, it's going to be you.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. The City of Desert Hot Springs recently received a request letter from the President of the Desert Hot Springs Historical Society, Mr. Robert Griffith, seeking assistance to complete needed improvements to the Rock House. The Rock House was one of the original homes built in Desert Hot Springs, and it's gained notoriety by virtue of being constructed primarily out of locally sourced rock. Over the years, the home has fallen into disrepair before ultimately being purchased by the Historical Society. Based on Mr. Griffith's letter, the Historical Society has invested over $200,000 in donations towards the home's renovation. It is now seeking a $25,000 match to an anonymous donation in the same amount to complete ADA requirements, which represents the last significant portion of renovations. And that completes my report. Thank you.
And before we open up to council comments, questions, we're going to open up to public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item? If you do, please come forth. You can come on up and press the red button there, and you'll have 3 minutes once you state your name.
Okay, my name is Robert Griffith. I am the president of the Historical Society. I did send that letter in. The reason we've done this is that we have exhausted a good portion of our savings in getting the house up to code and getting it ready for the public. The last remaining part is the ADA improvements. We can't open it unless we have access for people with mobility issues. It would include building of an external ADA bathroom, similar as what you see at Cabot's, as well as parking and then grading so that people can actually get into the front. To do anything drastic would alter the actual structure as well as the aesthetic. And so we've tried over the past years to do some more fundraisers, but as you know, COVID shut a lot of things down. And since then, we've been struggling to try and get the additional funds we need. We do have a $25,000 matching grant, and with this money, we would be able to do those improvements, hopefully by the end of the summer, and then we would look for a grand opening in September to open it to the public. I do want to let you know that we have received historical designation from the County of Riverside for the building. It is one of the last remaining rock structures left in the city. There was a sister property that was on 8th Street, which I think everyone knows has since been destroyed, caught fire, and then they raised it. So it's one of the last remaining original structures in the city. It's from 1946. Our goal is to open it up. We can have events there, fundraisers, as well as open it up as a small museum and a visitor center so that visitors have additional opportunities for sightseeing and things to do. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you may all have. I can do that now, or I can do that after the other people follow me.
Yeah, let me have the rest of the speakers speak, and then when we get into comments from the council, I'll have you brought back up. Thank you, Robert.
I'm on. Barbara Eastman, resident and past president of the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club. I'm here to support the request from the Historical Society. All the clubs here and organizations support each other, which I think is a great thing, because we're losing that around the country, and we're losing a lot of our history. And like our women's club, we just celebrated 70 years here, and very proud this year to give $27,000 in scholarships. So that's why I'm here, to support the Historical Society. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Good evening. I am Donna Wardine. I too am a member of the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club and have been a resident of the Desert Hot Springs for 24 years. Not everyone knows that our club is celebrating 70 years here in Desert Hot Springs. I'm looking at incorporated 1963. I think we beat you. I think we're older. While we're well known for raising money for scholarships, please let it be known that we were established to and have supported the youth in Desert Hot Springs all 70 years. We have donated to Little League Swimming, ROTC. We even helped the high school debate team go to Washington, D.C. for the finals. Every year, we give money to each and every school in this city. While doing all this, our club saved towards buying a property of our own as a clubhouse. This has not happened, but still being historically minded, we were able to continue our dreams by donating to the acquisition of the beautiful and historically built rock house. Yes, history in our town is a beautiful thing. And yes, the rock house is in a residential neighborhood, second house from the corner, I think. My hope is that the city of Desert Hot Springs will continue to support the efforts to save the rock house for historical use, and perhaps keep our eyes open to acquire the property next door. Perhaps rezone the rock house and the property next door, much like the museum up the hill. This then will continue to represent a time past here in Desert Hot Springs, and perhaps not just someone's hopes and dreams of the past, but our hopes and dreams of the future. It's right near the schools. It could be a little trip for the kids to go over there and learn the history of Desert Hot Springs and our city, and the culture and how we used to make do, putting things together, building homes, making it our home. So please consider funding the $25,000 the Historical Society is asking for. I think it's important. Thank you.
Thank you. You just turned yourself off there. No, go. Nope.
I'm the newly elected president of the Spa City Palatiers, which is an art club that has been in Desert Hot Springs for coming up on 30 years. We, as our name indicates, support the arts in the community, and we provide opportunities for artists to learn and to develop their talents. We are a nonprofit club that contributes to scholarships for the students at Desert Hot Springs High School. We have also contributed through the years to other local associations. Our board donated $2,000 toward the buying of the Rock House. We could participate in some art events or provide some of the members' ribbon award-winning paintings to display there. We are very much in support, and we urge you to please help consider the benefit of opening the Rock House to the public. And we, as a club, really support this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Dorothy Warren, and I'm a longtime resident, about 30 years here in the Desert Hot Springs area. I am a member of the Elks Lodge as well as the Women's Club and Historical Society and many others. Mainly, as was stated before, we all work together, we support each other, we support all the other organizations, we participate. One of the fundraisers that we mainly do in order to raise all the money for the scholarships is getting all of the businesses in the all of Desert Hot Springs, to support us, and just this book alone, we made several $1,000s, so it's several scholarships. The Rock House is also a part of that, and they also participate in that as we have donated money for that. I also remember hearing that the Cabot's Museum is a national monument now. I don't suppose the Rock House will be a national, but it certainly is a real high spot in the desert, and everyone should be able to go in and see, what in the early days, how we lived and the beauty of it. And so I would support any help that you can give to get the Rock House open. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you can see, we have a lot of community support for the historic Rock House. When we found the historic Rock House, we immediately started a membership drive and found the spirit was an interest and excitement in the vernacular architectural style was not only in our local community, but from the Coachella Valley as well. And our membership went from about 30 members up to 120 members. Because we had the campaign in honor of our 55th year anniversary, and Cabot Yerxa was a charter member. Then COVID happened. But during COVID, we did complete stage 1 of the restoration, and we've been working hard toward the second phase. Also during that period, we received the Riverside County Historic Landmark, which will bring not only local Coachella Valley societies here, but it will be bring tourism from the county. So we found out about the historic Rock House being available from a member of the Palm Springs Historical Society, Ann Japanga, who called us, and we went immediately, called Brianna, local realtor. She opened within 15 minutes. 4 or 5 of us were there to see it. And we started that campaign to raise money with donors and all the organizations that are here tonight and individual contributions to show there's great community spirit to make this happen. So appreciate your support and interest in it as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments before we close public comments? Still waiting on public comments. All right, if nobody else in the public going to go to comments, I have people raising their hand already. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an amazing property, and I think a lot of people know, and I'll relay the story again. The very first organization that I joined when I moved to Desert Hot Springs years ago was the Historical Society, and I'm a big fan of the Historical Society, and I see great things with this property. I was sad we didn't have a picture of it to show everybody today, but the original name of the property is Pile of Rocks, which is what it is. It's picked up by rocks all over, and it's one of the most unique structures I've ever seen, and it actually is a contemporary of Cabot's property. So I look at this as kind of a Cabot's little sister. It'll be a great attraction. It could even be a mini visitor center until the city can get one closer to City Hall put in somewhere. But there's a lot of opportunity for this. I think $25,000 is very reasonable, and $25,000 matching grant should get them up to where they need to be to get this this beautiful piece of property open. And I was especially happy to see so much public support from the other organizations in town. And I, as they mentioned too, Dorothy and others, is that there's a lot of cross membership in there, and I've often joked that we just have one club here. It's the Desert Hot Springs Friends of the Library, Palatiers, Rotary, Historical Society, Elks Club. So, and there is a lot of community support for this. I'm very enthusiastic about it, and I would urge my fellow council members to do the same.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody for coming here to, celebrate this building. It's 83 years old, I'm guessing. I see Robert sitting there shaking his head, yes, thanks. He'll go with that. And, maybe this renaissance that Desert Hot Springs is going through is now an effort to save a historical building instead of having somebody standing in front of a bulldozer to prevent it from being torn down, as was going on with Cabot's. It's a nice to see everybody getting together like this to do this. I look forward to this getting expanded. I see Donna had an idea for going a little bit further, so I think that's how things generally get going. They start with somebody had an idea. You all came together, that's great. And we've sent a lot of money a lot of other places. I can't think of a better place than to send that for this project. So thanks all of you for your efforts on this one.
Mr. Mayor.
Hold on one second.
Mr. Mayor, my question is for staff. Sean, what is the square footage of the home?
That's a good question, council member, that I don't know the answer to. I'm not sure.
Robert, do you know the square footage? 1,300 square feet is what the audience is saying.
Survey says. Robert, come on up. Okay, if you go.
No, please.
Okay. Is there meeting space for having meetings there for community?
In terms of the layout, there is a large front room, and so the lack of any picture, that's my fault. I rushed from work and I left everything. It would not be suitable for large gatherings. We do have our board meetings in there, and so you can comfortably sit probably, if you have the furniture, easily 15, 20 people. We usually have about 8 to 10, so you can have small meetings. And future plans, you have a summer camp. We've talked about all sorts of plans, such as little art festivals, having tours. You can have other groups come in as a community center to do meetings and things like that. So we've talked about those. We've not set anything in stone because we've just been focused on getting this in. But there are parts of the building that would not be accessible to people that are coming in there, hence the ADA external bathroom and things like that. So, but you could have meetings there.
Okay. Is there a kitchen or is not a kitchen?
There is a kitchen. There's no cooking facilities. It's very small. I did get a really good refrigerator at Best Buy last year I got a good deal because it was dented. And so there's a sink and there's a microwave and there's a refrigerator.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get an idea of, is there other little rooms in there? Is it like a 2-bedroom?
So it's, there's a small room in the back that we use right now. We're using for our archives. So it has shelves in there where we store all the old stuff. There's also a shed area and there's a little desk in there. It's pretty interesting. And, if anybody wants a tour, certainly let us know. But you can actually, believe it or not, you can go on Zillow and you can see pictures.
If I may, council member, I think it'd be pretty conducive for outdoor space as well, for events that has quite a bit of outdoor space, and there's a lot of demand for those types of events.
So that's what I'm thinking, is it's going to be more for an outdoor venue than indoor venue.
Yeah, you
right?
can there's a lot of space for outdoor events. We had actually.
The courtyard.
Oh, I thought you'd turn around. There's a very small courtyard, but we had actually talked in the fall about having something like a plant sale, and then also having like a little art festival, having the palatiers come, having all the artists come, do paintings, and then we can display them, and if they want to sell them, they can. The problem that we have with all of this is that we would have to rent a bathroom, an accessible bathroom, which gets kind of expensive. And so we've kind of tabled that until we can really get this taken care of. And then once we do that, we have lots of plans to open it up to the public. I think it's a great opportunity for kids to do tours, or for school kids to see the history, because I've been here for 11 years. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know that they built houses just out of rock. I'm from the East Coast. I mean, they've been making bricks for years, so they didn't just scrounge the yard for rocks. So for me, it was kind of an exciting thing to see, and I think it's a lot of our history is gone, as you know. The Sahara, I'm kind of glad, but that's gone, and some of the other old spas are gone. But we need to preserve what's left. So
Absolutely. One last question. So the matching funds that will be, or if they've received, is that going to be significant for the ADA compliance, or?
Yes.
Because of rising cost and everything like that?
Yeah, so the last estimate we got was $56,000 for the parking, the grading, and the construction of the external. And so that will be a little shy, but we're going to dig into what's left, and we'll take care of the rest. So,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, if I might.
Hold on, I got one more council member, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Benz.
I'm a member of the Elks Women's Club and paying member of the Historical Society, but not the Palletiers, because I can't paint. But I attend their meeting, their fundraiser.
I think it's only $10 a year.
I was going to ask you how, after should we do this, how will you be, and not you, but how will the society be sustainable?
We'll be able to do events that bring in funds. That's, COVID really took a toll on a lot of the groups in terms of their fundraising, because you couldn't have the group events. We used to do the soup suppers, and we had to shut them down, and we've started them up. But I think, personally, I feel a good portion of the reason that fundraising is tough is because there is no visibility for the group that we would like to have. And the reason is because we haven't been able to open this. And just so you know, I spent in the summer hours and hours working in there to make minor alterations and repairs. It is an old house, and so I've painted and done all sorts of stuff, and I'll be doing that again this summer. So we are sustainable. It's once we open, our property taxes will disappear because we'll be an open nonprofit, and that's a significant chunk of money. Anyone who lives here knows property taxes hurt. They really hurt nonprofits when you don't have a lot of money to put out to begin with. So that'll reduce everything drastically. And then from that point, once we do the opening and have events, we'll be able to do fundraising, and that's our goal.
Thank you. I'm done.
Make a motion that the city council approve the request for $25,000 for the Desert Hot Springs Historical Society towards the Rock House ADA improvements and other items as they see need to be taken care of.
Second that.
Do you have a motion and a second? Any other discussion?
I just had maybe a comment or idea. While the process is being renovated and going through the motions of everything, have you had the opportunity to talk to the surrounding residents to see, maybe getting them involved? Because this is in the neighborhood, and gaining support of the neighbors and getting the backup and might be a great funding source also.
So we have talked to the adjacent neighbors who are very happy to see what we've done. Again, my bad because I didn't bring my presentation. But if you had seen it prior, it was a mess, it was overgrown, and it was really kind of an eyesore. And so they're actually quite enthusiastic. Some of the other neighbors we haven't really had a chance to talk to. Most of the time that we're there, we're not so much networking with the neighbors as we are inside working and fixing up. So, but I do think that overall the community will really enjoy it because it is something for us to see, and it's a landmark. So.
Thank you.
Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Is there anybody else in the audience that's here for an item on the agenda? Okay, we're going to move back to the front of our agenda on item number 13 in public hearings. Item 13 is a transfer of ownership modification fees related to cannabis. Ms. Newsom.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On March 7, 2023, the City Council approved an ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 5.50 Cannabis Business of the Desert Hot Springs Municipal Code. And per those new regulations, a new fee was to be set by resolution, which is a transfer of ownership modification fee. The fee amount per permit for full cost recovery is $645.19. And as these are new fees, the fiscal impact will be an increase in user fee revenue for the city. Currently, the city processes approximately 8 transfer of ownership regulatory permit modifications per year, which will generate $5,166.32 in new user fees. That concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing at this time. We'll take any testimony in favor, opposed, or a neutral position. I see nobody coming forth. We're going to close the public hearing at this time, and I'll go back to City Council discussion and/or a motion.
I'll move that we transfer the ownership of modification fees related to the cannabis facilities.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. No one's voted yet, Mr. Betsy. They're having some, there's nothing on our screens. Here we go. Somebody moved, who moved it? Did you move it?
Yeah, it's processed.
Okay, thanks. All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Move to item number 14, it's a temporary cannabis cultivation tax reduction ordinance. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. At its April 4th, 2023 regularly scheduled meeting, the City Council approved a temporary 50% reduction in the cannabis cultivation tax rate from the current $10.20 a square foot to $5.10 a square foot for the current tax period of January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. This action is the first reading of the accompanying ordinance to enact the temporary reduction. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I may, there was a slight error in the actual ordinance. The ordinance currently says $5. It should read $5.10, both in the two small sections that we are changing in the ordinance.
Thank you very much. We will take any public comments at this time. Is there any public comments? We'll close public comments and I'll entertain a motion or any more comments.
Jennifer, do we need to make an emotion to change that amount that's in there?
You could just say motion as amended by the city attorney from, that would be fine. So it's
Okay,
$5
so we
to
don't need to, we don't need to
$5.10.
actually, okay, so then I move that, that we approve the temporary cannabis cultivation tax reduction ordinance as amended by the city attorney.
Second.
Amendment to that motion, that we keep it at $5, that we approve the cannabis tax, but not include the, I don't understand the reasoning for the extra, was it 20 cents or 10 cents?
The initial ordinance resolution was 50% of the current cost, so the correct 50% would be $5.10.
But we have the option to.
You're asking for an amendment, so we'll see if we get a second.
Well, I'm fighting for the 10 cents. It doesn't look like I got it.
All right, and no second, the amendment to the motion dies. We'll go back to the original motion. Is there any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I have some.
Please.
So, this temporary reduction is really good and necessary, but we really need to look at making this reduction permanent and even eliminating these special extra taxes completely. These excessive taxes on this industry are putting a lot of jobs at risk. And the time's coming up, I think jobs are going to be something that's considered very valuable. We need these jobs. Really, the livelihood of our residents is dependent on, to a large part, these employers who are employing many, thousands of people now. It's critical that we take this up sooner than later. I know this is a temporary measure, but I would strongly encourage this council to take the next step, which would be to eliminate these extra burden on the industry altogether.
Just so that's not the last word and the public's got full transparency, the council at the last meeting may put this ordinance in effect so that we would have the first reading tonight, and the city manager's office is working due diligence to bring that back to us with a analysis on how that will look in the future. So as Mr. Betts is pleading that this council move as fast as possible, we can only move as fast as our staff can get us to report, but I think the direction was given to him at the last meeting to bring it back as soon as possible, and the goal is to bring it back before the next tax period ends. So with that said, please vote.
And
Sorry, I did not see your hand up.
I'll
Sorry.
do it quick. I am voting against for the same reason that I did before. That's it.
And just one additional comment in light of yours. Is
If we're
that-
going to sit here and start a debate back and forth,
I'm
Mr.
not
Betts-
debating. I've got additional comments on the
I'm ready
item.
to call for the vote. Can we just vote and move on?
I just want to say that I'm pushing for this for a long time. This isn't something that I'm not ignoring where we're going. I'm just encouraging the council to consider what's going on in this industry. It's a very tough time, and they need this relief.
And I'll get the last word since I'm chairing the meeting. That relief is being made. This tax period, you're getting your relief, and the next tax period we'll have another relief. I don't know how much faster we can move as a city council. All right, so we're going to vote, please.
Motion passes with Councilmember Pai opposed. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs amending chapters 3.33 titled Marijuana Cultivation Tax and 3.35 titled Medical Marijuana Cultivation Tax to amended sections 3.33.005 titled Imposition of Tax and 3.35.005 titled Imposition of Tax to lower recreational and medical cultivation taxes of the Desert Hot Springs Municipal Code during the temporary term January 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2023. The ordinance will return on May 2nd for second reading and adoption.
Thank you very much. Move back to the administrative calendar, item number 15. It's lighting, landscaping, maintenance districts, and drainage assessment district. Initiate proceedings for the fiscal year 23-24 levy and collection of assessments. Now, how this works is that we have to, as a council, initiate the proceedings so that they can start and then come back to us in multiple items that we will look at. But due to the fact that 3 council members have, did you decide whether you have?
I don't.
You do not have a conflict in it. Okay. So Councilmember Betts, myself, and Mayor Pro Tem Nunez live within a stone throw of some of the districts, so we're going to pull straws, and 2 of us will leave the room.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, so the 2 short straws will leave the room.
All right. Okay, so the Mayor Pro Tem will have to leave the dais, and the former Mayor Pro Tem will take over the meeting at this time. It'll be Mr. Gardner.
Better find my glasses then. So, item number 15.1, Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District and Drainage Assessment District proceedings for fiscal year 2023-24, levy and collection of assessments. Mr. Buckheim.
Yes, good evening, thank you. So the 3 resolutions before you are to initiate the proceedings for the levy and collection of assessments during fiscal year 23-24 for the lighting and landscaping maintenance districts and the drainage assessment districts within the city. These assessments provide funding for the maintenance and repairs of facilities within those districts. In order to continue the annual assessments for the districts, the City Council must conduct certain proceedings for each district. The proceedings required the adoption of intention of resolution, preparation of an engineer's report, holding a notified public hearing, and adoption of a resolution levying the assessments. The engineer's report will be presented to the City Council at the May 16th meeting, and the resolutions for the collection of the assessments will be presented before the end of this fiscal year. The city's consultant, Webb Municipal Finance, will assist with the annual levy of the districts and submit to the county to put them on the 23-24 tax rolls.
Thank you. Any council questions?
Yeah, I got a question. districts. So now Webb is looking at what it's costing us now to provide the services for these districts, for example, say Rolling Hills development, and then coming back and giving us a recommendation on how much the new levy should be. Is that what the process is here?
So Webb actually consults with the city, the Public Works Department, on what is going to be required to do the maintenance and repairs and any improvements on those facilities for the district. And using that information, they will create the engineer's report. The city's finance department would then take that information and determine, depending on how much reserve is in each district fund, how much the cost, and then what the assessment's going to need, what will be needed.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is in some of these districts, there is some sort of shortfall of funds or something going on to where the idea is that these residents in these different districts are paying for their community landscaping, and that's supposed to include replacement of plants that die, a replacement of ground cover as you get sparks and bare dirts showing, and it's not covering that. There's the whatever is being, either it's on the collection side where not enough's being collected, or it's on the spending side where too much is costing too much to provide this landscaping, and maybe somebody needs to take a look at how to do this at a better rate. And that's what I'm asking, is Webb going to look at providing any type of evaluation on how efficient we are being in providing these services to these communities?
So Webb will not be looking at that, but the city staff can look at that as a way to any cost cutting, because the assessments were set when these districts are voted in. We can lower the assessment throughout the year or from the years, but we can't go anything higher than the maximum assessment. With increasing prices, there's only so much that we can do, but something that staff is looking at and that the finance department, Public Works is looking at to determine for any of those districts that are going over balance, what funding we can do and what better services, how we can provide the services for what resources we're receiving.
Okay, well, I wouldn't advocate for any increase in these, but the different categories we have are what? Utilities, supplies and maintenance, then we got administrative fees collected by the city, and then we have administrative fees collected by the county for some reason, and then we got contract services, which would be what Webb collects, and then we have something called contract services, which I presume would be the landscaper that's in there doing the work, correct?
Yes.
So if you take Rolling Hills development, for example, their assessment for the expense for landscaping is $20,000 in a year. And if you take that and work out what do you call them these days? People hours? I used to call them man hours. People hours. To do that, if you had somebody on that small section, was it 5 hours a week times a billable rate of $20 an hour with adding in their, the cost, taking it up to $35 an hour, you'd have somebody on that job for 5 hours a week. And I'm just not seeing that takes that much work. And so I'm hoping that somebody's going to take a look at this stuff, because what's happening is, while the landscape company's getting $20,000 a year, you've got trees that have died and haven't been replaced. And in this one section, it used to be one of the most beautifully landscaped places, and the mayor's mentioned, other people have mentioned it, it is now getting to be not looking so good. And the whole idea is here's to keep the city looking good. So I don't want to take too much more time here, but there's a problem there that needs to get worked out, and I'm hoping that in this process, when this comes back, not only will staff say, hi, here's what we're recommending the new assessments are going to be, but here's how we're going to correct this problem that everybody recognizes is we're not able to, for some reason, keep up with the landscaping as we should be. So if that's a fair comment at this point, I'd really appreciate having staff, when they bring this back to us, and this just starts the process. I had a bunch of people calling me, is this the one we should show up and protest? I said, no, this is just the one where we're initiating the process. You'll have a chance to show up with your pitchforks later, the tax pitchforks, figuratively speaking. So, okay, I'll be happy if we'll get something coming back to us in the future that says, hey, here's what we're gonna do, we're gonna get more efficient with this and provide more for the same amount of money or more for less. That'd be great. I sure don't wanna see the same thing we're getting for more money. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Pye, do you have anything?
I would like to make a motion, but I'll do this. There's been several assessments that have not been made, and they're coming from other funds, so this hasn't been fair. What Webb does is fair, and I understand what Councilmember Betts is saying, but that's two different things. And you should get what you're requesting from staff, so that's okay. But Webb does do it correctly. Went through this with Rancho del Oro. But there are people where they aren't being charged at all, and this has happened for a long time. At least 2 city managers it has happened with, and I've tried to get it done, and now we're getting it done. Jennifer, is it possible to make all 3 motions in one?
We need to get public comments first.
Can she answer?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Do we have any public comments? Going once, going twice, going 3 times, okay. I'll echo what Councilmember Pye said as well. We have had an ongoing problem where we're raiding the general fund for some of our, make up some of the deficit in some of these landscape lighting and maintenance districts. And that's just not sustainable at this time. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Webb brings forward. And Councilmember Betts has a valid point in that maybe we can find some significant cost savings here and there, as well as keep everything up and looking nice and neat. So we'll look forward to that down the road when this report comes back in. Madam City Attorney, can we do this in one bulk motion, or do we need to do 3?
We could do it all in one motion.
Who's going to make that motion?
Sir, that's what I just asked. Can we have a staff recommendation for 1, 2, and 3?
I'll second.
All right, as soon as it comes up on the screen.
Oops, Jan, I just pushed to move. I'm sorry. Can you show Jan as making that motion? I made a mistake. I pushed it too quick. There we go. I don't know who's second. There we go. Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. Guys, you can come back.
All right, we're going to move to item 16, Azure Palm Spa Incentive Update. Mr. Smith.
Thank you again, Mayor. In 2021, Maria Lease purchased and opened the Azure Palm Hot Springs and Day Spa Oasis. After the initial effort to open the resort, Mrs. Lease wished to further improve the property, and she shared her plans with the city and inquired about any assistance that might be available. The City Council subsequently approved the terms for an agreement that allowed for the forgiveness of transient occupancy tax for a 2-year period. The assistance allowed for a variety of improvements in the expansion of outdoor space directly to the south of the property, including flow-through mineral tubs, an outdoor sauna, a reflexology walking path, cabanas, landscaping, plumbing, an irrigation water tank, fountains, guest locker rooms, and a new laundry facility. The project included the vacation of what was Ortega Drive just south of the resort, which is where the Oasis portion of that was completed. Since the initial opening in 2021, Azure Palm has established itself as a premier resort for health and wellness. It has been featured in a wide variety of publications and has become a favorite subject of social media and bloggers. I did not have a picture of the Rock House, but I do have a slideshow for you for this. So in this aerial, you can see what's listed as Oasis Phase 1 is where the outdoor space was expanded. That Ortega Drive just north of that area was the area vacated. And here's a view, 2 views, one from Agua Cayendo Drive looking west along Ortega Drive, and another from the other side, Alicia Road, looking east along Ortega Drive. So here's one of the after photos of the Oasis looking south. This is, again, was built from where Ortega Drive was going south on the property. So you can see the walking paths, some seated areas, a lot of beautiful landscaping, many trees that will grow and provide shade for guests. Here's another view showing the same thing in terms of a walking path. You can see some of the shade structures and cabanas that cover the mineral oasis in the background as well. Not a bad view, is it? So here's a close-up look of one of the Oasis soaking tubs with the mineral water. You can see that they do have the shade structures there for guests, and they have about a half dozen of these on their property as it currently stands. And then there's a photo of somebody utilizing the Oasis reflexology walk, which is a series of pebbles through the walking path with the mineral water flowing through. And the good news is Maria Lisa is not done yet. Her next phase includes the expansion of that entire area south of what was just shown on the screen into a larger area with more walking paths, mineral baths, spas, things of that nature, and she is currently working on that portion of her expansion. And then up on the northern portion, just south of Hacienda, you can see the area listed as a dining event lawn. That area currently exists, but ownership is building that out so it can be suitable for events and actually dining with the restaurant expansion on the interior as well. So there's a lot of really good things happening at that property. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.
Before we take questions from council, I just want to see if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item. See nobody coming forth. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Sean. I didn't mean to put you on the spot on the Rock House thing. I promise
that's
you,
okay.
I swear. Just one question on the Phase 1 Oasis. What did they do for, I guess, privacy? Did they do a block wall, or is it something, the bamboo separation?
I believe it's landscaped, the fence with landscaping over it so that you can't see into the property.
Okay, so when they do their, I know it's kind of early to tell, but when they do their Phase 2, is it going to be a block wall doing a perimeter, or do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay. I did put you on the spot on that one.
Any other questions? Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sean. Just more of a comment than a question, but one slight question. This is an amazing transformation. I think we can all agree on. Ms. Lees has done a fantastic job with that property, and the number of people visiting it has just skyrocketed, and there's never a vacant spot there in the parking lot. It's drawn a lot of national attention. As I chair the Greater Palm Springs Convention and Visitors Bureau, it's always one of the top listed places that people come to the desert to visit. She's gotten coverage in Forbes and worldwide magazines and stuff, so it really is a draw for our city. This plan of letting her retain her transient occupancy tax to help fund further expansion was the model that Ms. Pye and I used when we created the spa revitalization ordinance that we passed last year. I'm hoping, really hoping, our TOT taxes are coming in far better than we expected this year. The number of visitors is way up. I'm hoping this continues to drive that. I didn't see in here is what was the total amount. There, I did see it now. 512. Is that was the total amount that she retained?
Correct. That was the estimate of the amount of TOT she retained for that project.
So $500,000 over the course of 2 years. You know, she bought that just before COVID started and lived in it during the COVID years, remodeling it. So it's an amazing property in our city, and this is a great opportunity for us, and I'm really glad that we did this, and I'm glad we were able to create an ongoing ordinance to keep this program going for other properties.
Yeah, on that question, this one's obviously a success. It's worked out really well. Do we have any other hotel properties? Do you have now a model to move this towards other properties that are going to take advantage of this?
We do. We have Desert Hot Springs Inn just completed theirs, and we are processing, or have processed actually, their reimbursement for TOT. They're almost done with their total amount due back to them. And Aqua Soleil has also submitted paperwork for participation in the incentive program.
Okay, and if we're reaching out to them, I take it, to let them know about this, not just letting them come to us?
No, we are. We're actually looking at scheduling a meeting, an association meeting of the hoteliers, and this is going to be one of the agenda items that we'll discuss and present to them.
Okay, and the point of this isn't to give away tax dollars, it's really to get more tax dollars coming in, because once these properties make this kind of transition, as this one has, we're getting more TOT. And I've heard mention of this property down Valley, even outside of, the normal channels. It's very well known. And I just, you went there to an event, and I'm standing out in the courtyard, and Maria comes up to me and she says, by the way, this is that street that you dedicated. And I'm going, wow, this sure looks a whole lot nicer than that street did. It's way more useful. And so, yeah, this is a great deal. I'm happy. This is a receive and file, so I guess we don't need to get to vote on anything. So I'll just say, great, thanks for the presentation.
Ms. Pye, anything? I just wanted to say we had some opportunity to go to the hotel for different events, and my wife and I have had a chance to stay there. It's just a fantastic property, and it really shows what Desert Hot Springs is truly about when it comes to its hot water and visitor serving. And to have someone like Maria, who started here in Desert Hot Springs with a small boutique spa and moved her way up to a larger, medium-sized hotel, it's just been fantastic. And her vision years ago, over 10 years ago, her and I sat on a committee together here in Desert Hot Springs on visitor serving, and she told me someday she was going to own a larger spa in this city, hotel property, and expand it to a large day spa, and that's what she's doing now. And so it's incredible to see her vision coming forth, and so this definitely worked. And so whomever we can help out would be important for our community.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just add one more thing before we end. I know when this project came for us 2 years ago, I was greatly opposed of it, so I'm glad to see, it's proud to see its success, and I hope it helps more hotels. Thank you.
This is a receive and file item, so we won't be taking any action on this. We'll move to the next item, which is item 18, award professional services agreement for the design and of the Hacienda Avenue Spa Zone street improvements. Kind of works right into that area there. And it says Mr. Haker, but you're not Mr. Haker.
I'm not Mr. Haker, no. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The City of Desert Hot Springs applied for grant funding for the Active Transportation Program Cycle 6 on June 15, 2022 for Hacienda Avenue between Tamar Drive and Long Canyon Road. The improvements include bike lanes, new sidewalks, streetlights, and safety medians within this portion of roadway. The project was approved by the Riverside County Transportation Commission on March 8th. On January 9th, 2023, the city released a request for proposal for engineering design for the Hacienda Avenue Spa Zone Improvement Project. The RFP was posted on the city's website and closed on February 6, 2023. The city received 7 proposals from consultants. Staff completed independent evaluations for each proposal and set up interviews with the two top qualified firms. Due to the size of the project, staff wanted to ensure that the most qualified firm was selected. After the interviews and reference verifications, and based upon the qualifications in the bid proposals, staff found NV5 Incorporated to be the most qualified consultant. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute the professional services agreement for the design of the Hacienda Spa Zone Improvement Project with NV5 Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $378,800 with a contingency of $37,880 for any additional work as approved by the city, which brings a total budget of $416,680. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much. It's much needed to get this project going also. Is there anybody who would like to speak to this item in the audience? See nobody coming forth, we'll close public comments, and I'll move to council member comments. Anyone? Mr. Betts?
Yeah, we have some really beautiful properties, like we just talked about the Azure, Azure Palms, I can never get the name, Azure Palms.
Close enough.
Close enough, thanks. And, said for a long time, you go into the stores, all the care and stuff that goes into people's establishments, and for a long time, the city has needed to step up its game on our boulevards and the areas that we control. And that's what this is about, particularly in this zone where we have visitors from all over the world visiting Desert Hot Springs. And when they go to the Azure Palms and all the other boutique spas, the Good House that got the award recently, We need to put a much better foot forward. Now, no, I'm not trying to insult any engineers in the room, but you guys look at concrete and blacktop and you say, oh, isn't that a nice curb and isn't that a nice sidewalk? But I'm hoping for a little bit more out of this project. That, I mean, I take a drive through some other cities. Yorba Linda comes to mind. It's just a beautiful drive to that city. I know it's a upscale city, very expensive homes and stuff, but I'm hoping that we don't just get the curbs, the gutters, the sidewalks, but that we get a design element coming to this council that when somebody drives up the boulevard, they say, wow, doesn't this look nice? And they're not just referring to the nice smooth concrete. Have we got that worked into this proposal? Is that in our plans?
Yes, we do have a landscape subconsultant is on there, so we can enhance with landscaping effects, rock effects, all that kind of stuff. So we'll actually have a set of plans for the landscaping, not just concrete and asphalt.
Okay, all right. And the last thing I want to say on this is I know that I always used to sit there and wonder why these bike paths in a city that's got all these hills. I'm sure not going to go ride a bicycle up Palm. But my neighbors recently got some electric bikes. I see a whole lot of other people getting electric bikes, and all of a sudden these hills aren't such a challenge. So I don't think Hacienda would be such a challenge, and I'm hoping that we're going to design some attractive bike lanes into here as well. I guess that's part of the grant funding and the active transportation part. So I guess it's a little less active because we got the electric motors helping us. But anyhow, so I'm really glad to see this. This is wonderful. And again, thank you very much for the job staff has done. Was that 2022 you guys went to work on this one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know, we sit here and we get, oh, this comes to us now, and it's the work that you guys are doing to get this to happen. This is a good improvement, so thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I'll then move to approve professional service agreement for the design of Hacienda Avenue Spa Zone street improvements.
Second.
Motion is second. No other comments? Once it comes up on the screen, please vote. Did you move it already? He said he moved it on his side already.
Motion passes unanimously.
We're going to move to item number 19. It's the award construction contract for the construction of HSIP 9-1 Palm Drive Safety Improvement Project, federal project number HSIPL 5384023, city project number 3019. Jolene?
Yep. Good evening again. All right. The City of Desert Hot Springs applied for grant funding from the Highway Safety Improvement Program for Cycle 9 and was awarded a total of $206,300 for several locations along Palm Drive between Pearson Boulevard and Dillon Road. The improvements include upgrading pedestrian signal heads to countdown-style signal heads, pedestrian push buttons to accessible pedestrian signals, and constructing continental-style crosswalks with limit lines. On January 3rd, 2023, the request for proposal for construction of the HSIP 9-1 Palm Drive Safety Improvement Project was released. On February 6, 2023, the city received one bid. Due to the bid being much higher than the project estimate and the funding source being a federal grant, a second RFP was released on February 9, 2023. On March 13, 2023, the city received 3 bids. Staff reviewed the bids and verified all submittals. Staff determined the lowest responsive bidder to be Crosstown Electrical and Data Incorporated with a total bid amount of $355,676. Staff recommends to award the construction contract agreement to the lowest responsive bidder, Crosstown Electrical and Data Incorporated, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement by and between Crosstown Electrical Data Incorporated and the City of Desert Hot Springs for the construction of the HSIP 9-1 Palm Drive Safety Improvement Project, federal number HSIP-L 5384023, city project number 3019, in the amount of $355,676, and approve a 10% contingency amount of $35,567.60, and as needed inspection services of $15,720, which brings the total project budget to $406,963.60. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Do you have anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this item? See nobody coming forth, we'll close that. I'm sorry.
Tom Moen, 44-year resident of Desert Hot Springs. Having worked as a funeral director in this city for 25 years, Palm Drive has been a dangerous road. I welcome improving the safety. I've had to conduct funerals from people who have died on Palm Drive. And anything we can do, I certainly support. It's a tragedy when there is a needless death, and anything that can be done, I certainly support, and my hat's off to our council, and especially to our city staff for working on this project. I think it's very worthy.
Any other public comments? See nobody coming forth, we'll close public comments. I'll open up the discussion and or a motion.
I just have one comment. I would like think different here and put some language in there for the future for this corner crosswalk here on Pearson and Palm, where we put a diagonal crosswalk. I know that's going to kind of mess with the timing of the lights and whatnot, but maybe some language in the future to say, you know, that's the direction. Once downtown gets built out, it's a new idea of thinking of just the future of where we want to go and where we want to be. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
So will somebody be setting the timing on these lights to make sure that they are properly timed?
These aren't improvements to actual traffic signals. These are to the countdowns and stuff. But
Okay, well, they have to time the countdown to the signal, right?
yeah. So anything that needs to be updated, obviously, will be updated, yeah.
Because I've noticed the timing on the lights has changed. Traffic's getting backed up more than it used to. I've bugged staff about it, so I guess it's a little bit of an inside joke at this point, but hopefully we'll get that fixed. Thanks.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I move staff recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
This comes up on the screen. Please vote.
Gerald, on mine, can you put, I hit it right when it switched, so can you put it for? I'm sorry.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move to item number 20, State Homeland Security Grant Program. Chief?
This will be
Henson. Deputy
This
Chief.
will be presented by Deputy Chief Shaw.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So on January 25th, 2023, the California Office of Emergency Services approved Riverside County's fiscal year 22 State Homeland Security Program grant. The fiscal year 22 State Homeland Security Grant Program is part of a comprehensive set of measures authorized by Congress and implemented by the Department of Homeland Security to help strengthen the nation's communities against potential terrorist attacks. The State Homeland Security Grant Program assists state, local, tribal, and territorial efforts to build, sustain, and deliver the capabilities necessary to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism. The Desert Hot Springs Police Department has been awarded $60,000 from the fiscal year 22 State Homeland Security Grant Program, grant award number 2022-0043. We anticipate using these funds for law enforcement active shooter training, investigative equipment used during law enforcement investigations, such as cell phone data retrieval equipment, and radio equipment for the improvement of interoperable communications of Riverside County law enforcement agencies. Any equipment purchased through this grant will be vetted through FEMA's authorized equipment list to ensure it is allowed under FEMA's preparedness grant programs. The grant cycle for this grant will end on May 31st, 2024. The fiscal impact is that the Desert Hot Springs Police Department will be reimbursed up to $60,000 from the fiscal year 22 State Homeland Security Program grant for the training and equipment purchased through the grant. The State Homeland Security Program grant does not require matching funds. The recommendation is for the council to support this project and also authorize the city manager or her designee to execute this agreement as specified in the fiscal year 22 Standard Assurances Federal Grant Programs, and to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs ratifying the approval and acceptance of the fiscal year 2022 State Homeland Security Program grant grant award number 2022-0043 in an amount up to $60,000. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? See nobody coming forth. I'll open up to council for comments and our recommendation on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only one slight comment. I'm glad we got this grant. It's well needed. I was going to say it's just, unfortunately, we're having to spend it on active shooter training. Fortunately, we have not had any here. Fingers crossed we never do, but I do want you trained for that in case, God forbid, we do. It's just rather sad that that's a training thing that we have to train for now.
Comments down here?
I'd like to make a motion for staff's recommendation 1 and 2.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any more comments? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move to item 21. It's the Carl May Community Center tentative improvements, notice of completion. Mr. Hager?
This one is me. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On June 15th, 2021, City Council approved the Public Facilities Bond Project. Part of this project was the Carl May Center tentative improvements. On October 13th, 2022, Diamond Construction was awarded the construction contract for the Carl May Center TIs. On March 27th, 2023, the Carl May Center tenant improvements were completed. These are the pictures of the restroom before the TIs. The restrooms were single stalls that did not comply with ADA access. When doing the TIs to the restroom, it was discovered that there was an issue with the plumbing. The pictures show the undermining of the foundation due to the plumbing issues. This is the new ADA accessible restrooms at the Carl May. Part of the changes include direct access to the restrooms, new plumbing, new fixtures, and a storage closet. These are the pictures of the kitchen after the demo of the kitchen and the kitchen cabinets, the sink, and the appliances. A surprise was a mini hot water heater that was used. It was actually sealed inside of a cabinet at the end. This is the new kitchen. It is completely redone with new cabinets, sink, plumbing, appliances, paint, and flooring. These are the pictures of the old meeting area. You can see the old access to the restrooms, the old kitchen, and the carpet. You can also see where the dais was at. This is the new meeting area. The view is looking south towards where the dais was. Improvements include a new flooring, molding, paint, and ceiling tiles. Staff's recommendation is to approve the work, accept the project, and direct the city manager to file the notice of completion for the Carl May Center tenant improvement project. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the public like to make any public comments? I see none. It just, looking at the pictures and the time we've spent in there, it's incredible to see the work that's been done and trying to turn that whole area into more of a senior center campus and give more space to them. It's going to be awesome. I remember back in the late 70s and early 80s, my mom was a receptionist for the City of Desert Hot Springs, and that was actually City Hall, that one room. It seemed so much bigger when I was a kid. It's such a small space, but they had all of City Hall packed in there, and the where the comeback kids are in the back end where we used to meet for closed session was the police department in the 80s. So the city's grown a lot since then, but good memories. Great job on that. Any other comments? Oh, I'd make the motion to approve the completion.
I have a comment.
Yes. There's a motion and a second. Now open for comments. Go ahead.
The senior center is very excited about this. The executive director I showed it to him yesterday, and he showed it to all of the senior center that were there today. And I requested that before we do an opening, that the mayor give the senior center a private opening. And I was told they're going to be very excited about that.
We'll make all those arrangements and get that done.
Were they planning a hoedown?
Roger's going to lead it, sounds like. I don't even know what a hoedown is, but we're going to find out. I have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're going to move back to public comments. I do have one public comment turned in. Andy Tay?
Hi everyone, I appreciate the opportunity to address to the City Council this evening. I have reached out to most of you and emailed a short summary of the situation. By now you at least know the basics. I purchased a problem property at a tax default auction in July of 2021. A property that city that has tried to get the previous owner to repair still remains in the same fire damage condition as it has been for many years. I think you roughly know that I'm caught in a tough position now. There's a pre-existing lawsuit to place a receiver in the property, which will pretty much take my entire investment from me at a total loss. At the same time, I have attorney fees and old fines and assessment that wind up doubling my cost to repair the property. I've prepared a packet to explain why I believe I'm a bona fide purchaser of 11360 Palm Drive that purchased the property before city recorded the $40,000 in assessment. I do not want to bore you or waste your time with legal lecture as attorneys can review, but I do believe that I should be exempt from those. The main reason that I want to come today is so you can meet me as a person and see that I'm a good, honest, hardworking human being behind 11360 Palm Drive. I've brought you pictures of my prior work in rehabbing properties to show you that I do have a good track record. I'm just a small business person, not a large company. It's just me trying to work hard to better myself and the community that I'm rehabbing the property in. All I ask is a fair shot and you will be happy with the results. If this property goes into receivership, I will lose between $400,000 to $500,000 in almost overnight fashion. My efforts to get plans approved by city have not gone fast enough, and I will take responsibility for some of that. I purchased the property with sole intention to renovate and restore it back to value. However, I was so shocked at the first in 2021 and early 2022 at all the litigation and assessment that I spent time trying to unload the property instead of rehabbing it. I now am 100% committed to rehabbing it. I'm offering a real solution with a proposed timeline that is zero risk to the city. I'm just asking for, rather than going on trial September 29th, that I'll be giving a timeline to complete concrete construction tasks. Of course, I'll need some city's assistance expediting the permitting, but on my end, I will try to do everything in my power to come up with the right plans and, most importantly, get workers on site and start working and make a difference in first 60 days. By the end of the first 60 days, I believe you will see sufficient progress to be at ease to know that the property will be restored. I just can't do it with this litigation also occurring at the same time. I want to focus my resources to be 100% on construction and 0% on legal matters.
Mr. Tay, your 3 minutes have expired.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've all received a document from him, and we'll use that for the rest of his comments. Appreciate your time. Is there any other public comments? All right. With that said, our next upcoming meetings will be May 2nd. There will be a regular city council meeting. On May 9th, the planning commission will meet, and on May 11th, the public safety commission will meet. No further business from the city. We are adjourned.